Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today we're taking a look at this very pretty, rather impressive little Spyderco. This is the one-eyed jack based on the custom design by A.T. Barr. And this, guys, is definitely a particular kind of knife, okay? And so we kind of need to know going in, this is a high-end dress knife for high-end carry, in dress pants or, on Sunday morning or something like that. This is not sort of your workaday knife that you throw in your pocket and, beat up by doing everything you can think of that you do with your regular old pocket knife. This is definitely a dressy knife. The attention to detail, the level of work that goes into this is very, very high. And so we need to kind of look at it as that kind of a knife rather than, compare it to a Spyderco Delica or, Cold Steel American Lawman or even a Para 2, knives that are just designed to work and cut stuff. This is definitely designed to work, and it does, have some things about it that make it a very functional cutting tool, but it's a functional cutting tool that is absolutely beautiful with a level of refinement and attention to detail that you're not going to see or care about on your average work knife. So I want to kind of get that out of the way right away. The other thing I should point out is this is a really small knife. Okay, Spyderco has a lot of small knives, and some of those small knives are very popular. This one fits a fairly niche market, but I will try to compare it to some of their other small folders. So 6 inches overall is the total size on this guy. 2.5 inches on the blade, 3.5 inches on the handle. Now, one thing I will say is for a little knife like this, it weighs 3.6 ounces. So that's almost as much as a Para 2. Okay, I think the Para 2 is like 3.7 or 3.8 ounces for a knife that is a fraction of the size. And that's because there's a whole lot of stainless steel here. You've got stainless steel bolsters, this large stainless steel backspacer, okay, stainless steel liners. There's quite a bit of material involved in this little knife, and that does push the weight up quite a bit. It would be nice to see them take some measures to cut that down, either go with titanium, and really at the price point, I feel like you should be able to do titanium here. Something to get that weight down a little, because in dress pants, you're really going to notice that weight. All right, let's go ahead though. We'll talk about the details when we get to the handle. Let's start off with the blade. So this blade, come on, focus. Maybe need a second hand there. There we go. So this blade is S30V with a clip point, full flat grind, very nice and thin behind the edge. So this is going to be a really, really nice slicer, and great for those precision cutting tasks. And that's where I would fit this. This is not a tactical knife. This is not a woods knife. This is great for those light duty EDC tasks that you want to get done. And it's going to slice amazingly well. Now the blade length is quite short. Okay, so you're not going to be cutting up too many apples because this won't reach across an apple, but it is a very functional blade, and it's a very Spyderco blade. So if you're a Spyderco fan, if you love those blades on the Para 2, Para 3, Delica, Enduro, whatever else, you're going to be very, very happy with this. Dragonfly, if you're to compare it to a smaller knife like that. So this is a very functional cutting tool, no question, and it's very slim, which I think is perfect for an EDC knife, a light use EDC knife like this. Why not make the blade slim? Because you're not going to be pounding this through a tree. You're not worried about breaking the tip off or anything like that, because you're not going to be doing those kinds of tasks with this knife. All right, now let's talk a little bit about lockup and deployment. It is a liner lock, and it's a fairly nicely done liner lock. I like the fact that there's no relief cut here. They've also given me a little cutout for my thumb to kind of fit in there. The spider hole is very comfortable. Now, once in a while, about 1 in 5 tries, I can spider flick this. There we go. So it can be spider flicked, but hold on. There we go. But it's a little difficult. And I'm sure if you owned this knife and carried it and used it every single day, you would get quite proficient with it. I'm not to that level yet, so I can't spider flick it consistently. But it's a fairly typical Spyderco deployment, okay? It's smooth. It's not super fast. It's not a highly flickable knife. As I showed you there, you can spider flick it if you get good at it, but it takes a little bit of practice. But again, this is not a tactical knife. It doesn't need to be opened quickly. It is meant to be, in your suit pocket that you take out and do some light light cutting task when you're out with friends or whatever. And that's one benefit of this. It's not going to upset anyone, I don't think. It actually looks kind of cute. Maybe, you know, your wife or girlfriend would even appreciate this as a gift, although it would be a pretty expensive gift for a non-knife person, okay, for someone who's not really going to appreciate it. And that does bring us to the handle, which is rather impressive. So what we have here is ivory G10, and it really does have that sort of off-white color and really brings to mind sort of the high-end ivory items that you used to see, or that maybe you've seen in an old movie, or maybe you own something that's in ivory that's pre-ban ivory. But it really does sort of bring to mind, give it some apparent age and a level of class. We have these inlays, the heart and the spade, and the inlays are literally perfect. You cannot tell that this has been done at all. This is beautifully polished G10. And that's one of the things I've got to say is really, really the work here and the attention to detail. You know, the transition here from the G10 to the bolster is almost imperceivable. There's a very, very slight line there, but just the fit and finish is so tight and so clean. And that's just on the G10 and the bolster. Now, I would say I would like to have seen titanium here, especially for the price point on this knife. And I would like to see titanium back here. But look at that beautiful file work. You got that nice polish. This is, you know, the amount of work that would go into this is really what puts the price where it is, okay? And so this is an expensive knife, but man, it is beautiful. And so the handle construction here is not, you know, not untypical, okay? We've just got a full stainless steel backspacer. Now it's a big backspacer. If you take a look in the lanyard hole, you can see there's part of the backspacer. So that means the metal for this backspacer kind of follows that line. So you've got a lot of steel here. And I feel like they could have lightened up this knife in a couple of different ways, including using a bit less steel to create that backspacer. Okay, or as I said, using titanium, or dropping one of the liners completely and just going with G10 on one side. So that's the handle, and I've got to say, it is beautiful, beautiful work. It's not something that excites me a whole lot, but I can absolutely understand why someone would want this knife and why someone would love this knife and see it as a real gem in their collection, because it's a beautiful, beautiful Spyderco, truly is. And really built to a much higher degree than, you know, a lot of Spydercos. You know, I don't look at all the details on a Para 2 and think, wow, the detail is just fantastic here. It's just, no, this is a good functional cutting tool. But this, you know, you feel like you want to roll it over in your hands and you want to feel all the surfaces. And now thinking of handle construction, it does have a wire clip, and that's an interesting choice, okay? You know, the wire clip is absolutely a very modern, okay, a very updated item, but for some reason it doesn't feel out of place on this knife, and I'm not exactly sure why. You know, something more traditional or no clip at all feels like it would be more natural, but the wire clip doesn't sort of ruin the aesthetic of the knife. And I think it's because it's so minimalist. It's just a thin piece of wire. It still allows you to get most of the color and feel of the non-show side. And I guess, you know, that's why it works. But honestly, I'm a little surprised that it still works as well as it does. It is single position. It doesn't create any hot spots. Now let's talk about ergonomics here. You know, one of the reasons I don't like small knives is because they're not very hand filling. And honestly, you know, if I was opening up mail or something with this knife, sure, that would be fine. But any task that required either any time or any amount of pressure or cutting dexterity, I wouldn't want to do with this knife because it's just so small. Now, some of you who are used to small knives would probably argue with me there, and that's totally fine. But I definitely prefer something with a larger, more hand-filling handle on it. So that's my take on ergonomics. There's no hot spots. It's not uncomfortable. It just isn't very confidence inspiring, if that makes any kind of sense. Okay. So let's go ahead and grab some comparisons. We've already had the Para 2 in here. So let's throw that back in just because everyone is very familiar with the Para 2. So you can see this is quite a small knife. I do have some other smaller knives Here is a Spyderco Sage 4. Again, quite a bit bigger. By the way, the ergonomics on this, and similar, the reason I brought this in is because it's sort of a similar idea. It has that old-timey look, that old-timey inspiration. This is much more comfortable in hand. I really, really like the ergonomics on the Sage, even though it's still a little small for me. If you want a small blade with a really comfortable handle, I think this is a great option. A very popular small knife, it's going to be a little bigger yet, is the Mini Griptilian. That's a well-loved knife. Again, too small for me, but if you like the Mini Griptilian, this should give you an idea. You know, you're getting almost as much handle on the one-eyed jack as you do, but you just don't get quite as much cutting edge. What else have I got here? Oh, here's a really popular small Spyderco Dragonfly. Now, this is the, oh, come on. Anyway, I'm not going to think. Agomi Super Blue, sorry, Dragonfly, took me a second there. But again, very, very popular small Spyderco. Probably, if you want a small utility knife, this is a little more suited. If you want a small collector's knife, then that's the One-Eyed Jack's role. What else have I got here? Here's the H&K. I can't remember which model this is. Let's see. This is the, it should have a model number, 14716. Okay, so fairly popular knife. Again, this is the small version, kind of goes along with the Mini Griptilian. But again, should give you an idea if you've got that knife, if you're familiar with it, what we're dealing with. And then finally, let's go ahead and grab the Cold Steel Formax, which is a little more suited to my style. All right, so there you go, guys. Those are the comparisons I've got for you. Most of them really, except for the Sage 4, most of them don't really fit well with the theme of this knife. And that's because this has very traditional stylings. What I should have been bringing in here is like case knives or GEC knives or Northwoods, knives that are really high-end traditional folders. That seems to be more where this guy fits, but I don't have any knives like that, so we went with what I had. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me give you, if you don't know, my overall take on this knife is, yeah, it is a beautiful knife, and I absolutely appreciate being able to check it out. This is not a knife that I would want. However, if someone pulled one out of their pocket, I'd be like, dude, that's a sweet knife. And I can honestly say this knife does inspire a lot of wow factor. It really does, because the quality is there, the fit and finish is there. It's a really functional piece of art. Couple little nitpicks. It's a little heavy. I wish for the price point that the hardware, that is the materials, were a little higher end. We've got S30V and stainless steel. I would have liked to see maybe S35VN and titanium, but no one called me and asked about that. Otherwise though, really, really cool little knife. Not for me. But I understand totally why some people would appreciate it. That's all I've got for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.